Bananarama friends, and can you believe it is December already? It's December. The year has flown by, I swear. And hopefully that means that we're all getting our holiday cheer on. Maybe you've been buying gifts for your friends and family, or thinking about it, or thinking about the Christmas Eve menu if you're hosting. That's what I've been doing anyway. I have a crazy menu in mind. But what I want to talk to you guys about today is Stranger Things, because we're finally getting the closure that we have been waiting for 10 years. It was 2015 when the first season came out. A full-on decade. And it's only been 5 seasons. So that means that these people churn out a new season at a rate of like a season every 2 years, which is crazy. But there's so much information. There's so many fan theories. I have my own thoughts and ideas. And we already got the first 4 episodes. So there's a lot of ground to cover. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So word to the wise, there's going to be spoilers. So be warned. And let's get into it. See, the problem with having a fandom so intense and creative as the Stranger Things fandom is if you leave them for 10 years with a question, they are going to fill in the blanks in the most creative way possible, which is exactly what they did. I mean, the internet is littered with theories and predictions about the story's ending. And I love that. I love watching all of these videos and reading these theories, but one theory that I was definitely not expecting and took me by surprise was the theory of Byler. Now, what is Byler? It's a theory that a substantial group of people hold in the LGBTQ community about the show's actual nature. Some people think that Stranger Things is not just the story of the monsters and the Upside Down, but it is also the story of a relationship, a budding gay relationship between Will Byers and Mike Wheeler. Byers, Wheeler, Byler. And they say that this story has been woven into the narrative from the first season. Now, when I first heard about this theory, I rolled my eyes. I was like, oh my God, how much projection can a person possibly do of their fantasies into a TV show? But after watching these videos and reading the theories, I have to say they are very persuasive. There's a lot of, they give a lot of shape and depth to this theory. And I find it quite compelling. I think there is a high possibility that this is true. And here's what they say. They say that, even though Mike was in a relationship with 11, he has always just been a closeted gay. And he has the hots for Will, just like Will has it for him. He's just not able to express it or even accept it in himself. Because unlike Will, Mike comes from a home that was conservative. They show you pictures of the lawn of Mike Wheeler's house where there's, signs that they're going to vote for Reagan. And there's definitely some homophobic slights on the part of Mike's dad throughout the show. So people claim that Will has internalized homophobia. And so, they tell the story from this perspective, and there's some puzzle pieces that definitely start making a lot of sense. For example, all of the awkward scenes in the relationship between Will and 11, like 11 telling Will that he has never said I love you to her. All the awkwardness and the mean streak in Mike's behavior towards Will when there was, when they reunited in the 3rd season and Mike and 11 were together. Yeah, they seem to paint a picture, and there's definitely been a setup for this plot. And now that the fifth season is out, and we have seen how it feels like a natural progression where Will catches Robin with her lesbian girlfriend kissing, and then Robin kind of coaches Will through his feelings. And then Will gets the guts to flirt with Mike. And it also seems like Mike and Eleven are broken up. So you have to wonder, is this really the direction that the finale is going in? And, I'm not going to tiptoe through the tulips here. If at the end of the show, it turns out that Will and Mike end up together, I have to say I am going to be personally disappointed. Not because I have anything against gay relationships. I don't, if they make sense. For example, Robin feels like, yeah, it makes sense for her to be gay. I can see it. But when you have been spending years of your life invested in the heterosexual relationship between Will and Eleven, and you suddenly learn that this was just a closeted gay dude struggling with his feelings, it feels like you have been duped. It feels like these 4 or 5 years that you wasted caring about the relationship between Eleven and Mike were wasted. So I wouldn't really love that ending, but I feel like this is one of those lose-lose situations, because no matter what the show does, it's definitely going to disappoint someone. Because the people who are into the Byler theory, they say that if they don't get together in the end, they're going to consider this a case of gay baiting. Apparently, that's a term they use when a show, for example, gives hints that there's going to be a gay couple, but then nothing comes of it. It's like a way to keep the gay community hooked into the show with a promise of a relationship that just never arrives. And yeah, I can see how that would be disingenuous and frustrating too. So I feel like they cannot win. Like, the only way that they could walk away and win is if Will turns out to be bisexual or something, and he really did love Eleven, and he rejects Will because he doesn't find him attractive or something. That's like the only way that they could please everybody, I suppose. And, the reason that I think there's merit to this, other than all of the hints in the plot, is the fact that this TV show was pitched to Netflix, I suppose, around 2014, because the first season came out in 2015. And, we have to do an exercise in time travel, calm your memories like Vecna and put yourself in the shoes of yourself in 2015. What was going on in 2015? Well, it was peak woke culture, 2015. It was the year where Casey Neistat said, I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton, completely destroying his channel in the process. It was the year that Trump announced his campaign. It was the year that Michonne and Rick got shipped in Walking Dead, and it made absolutely no sense unless it was a political statement, which it was. It was a year where a lot of people risk their reputation or their TV show standing for brownie points with the woke community. And I feel like the Duffer Brothers have said a bunch of times that they knew exactly where the story was going from minute one. So, and if the Byler theory is true, then they have been embedding this relationship from season 1, which means they would have pitched this to Netflix as the story of this closeted relationship between two teenage boys. And it would make perfect sense for Netflix to pick up the show, even though the Duffer brothers were not famous, and they were being backed not just because the story was interesting, but because it was aligned with a political agenda. So it makes sense to me that this is the ending. And sadly, it took them 10 years because culture has moved away from wokeness so much that I feel like if this is the big reveal of the TV show, there's a lot of people who are going to be vocally dissatisfied with it. We're no longer in 2015, and people have very strong opinions about being, I don't know, it feels like with all of these woke plot points, it feels like you're in a sermon sometimes. Like, I just want to relax and enjoy myself. I want to watch something entertaining without having to think about the culture war while I am unwinding, And it feels like so many shows are just an excuse to push a political agenda, and people are tired of this. People are vocal, they're tired, cancel culture is over, and I don't know how well this plot point is going to be received. So I hope that Byler is a no-go and it's just gay baiting and not an actual full-fledged thing. But yeah, so let's move on to the next theory of how this is going to end. And this is the theory of the time travel. The second unhinged theory is that this whole thing is going to get wrapped up with time travel. And if you think about it, it's not so crazy, except for the fact that the people espousing this theory will often say that Henry Creel Vecna is not really a villainous villain. He's just been misunderstood. He looks like Skeletor. He murdered 12 children in cold blood, but his heart is in the right place. You see, because he's trying to time travel so that he can murder the Mind Flayer and fix everything that went wrong with the timeline. And I mean, sure, why not? But wouldn't it be incredibly disappointing? I mean, it would feel, I don't know, at least to me, it would be just as disappointing as the Byler relationship, because, I mean, what are you saying? Are you saying that me investing all of this time, like, hating on Vecna was for no reason? I was just misled? I mean, you don't really have such good storytelling skills if you fooled everybody into thinking that the good guy was the villain, right? I don't know. It would feel very much unearned. And I don't care if you're a Star Wars fan and you think that Darth Vader's arc was wonderful. I don't think I would enjoy Vecna being a good guy after all. I think it would suck. But I'm going to tell you the theory nonetheless, so that you can judge for yourself if this is a sound theory and if you would like this to happen to the show. So, okay, so you know how Vecna has been obsessed with clocks. And from the very beginning, we're told that this is like one of his main attributes. Do you remember how whenever he killed somebody, the clock, there would be like one of those grandpa clocks, it would ding dong before he killed someone? Yeah. And so they say like, okay, so this added to the fact that this guy seems to be building kind of like a toroidal structure with some spires, 12 spires inside. And he wants to kidnap 12 children to tie to these spires around the center part of the torus. And presumably he wants to imbue them with powers, psychic powers, so that he can use them as a weapon or something. And it's 12 children, like the 12 hours of the clock and the 12 months of the year. And Also, there's the fact that now we know that the Upside Down has this weird wall all around it in the shape of a circle, and the center of the circle is the lab, and it's like the face of a watch, right? A circular thing. And then the most convincing part is the fact that Holly Wheeler and all of the other kids her age are currently reading A Wrinkle in Time. And this is a sci-fi novel about kids who meet this strange characters. One of them is called Mrs. Whatsit. That's where the name Whatsit comes from. And they travel to these planets using a tesseract, which allows them to bend time-space. So a tesseract, if you don't know, is a cube in the fourth dimension. So it's a cube made out of cubes. It's very difficult to imagine because we live in 3 dimensions, but a cube in the fourth dimension would basically look like a cube within a cube. And according to some physics theories, if you manage to jump into the fourth dimension, you could effectively travel in time or connect to very distant points in space instantly by walking through the fourth dimension. So the fat little boy, like the dipshit from the show, is building a tesseract when he's introduced to us, right? And the shape of the structure that Vecna is building with the children that Will sees when he enters Vecna's mind and he draws it on the wall is a toroidal structure, is a torus. And a torus is a sphere on the fourth dimension. So it's basically the same thing as a tesseract, only instead of a cube, it is a sphere. So they think that Vecna, is trying to get these children to power up this torus so that he can travel in time to the past and defeat the Mind Flayer. Because Vecna's story, we're not told in the show, but there was a theater play that the Duffer brothers commissioned, and a lot of people went to see, right, about the life of Henry Creel, of Vecna. And in this play, they explained the backstory. So Vecna was not born with psychic powers. He obtained his psychic powers from being kidnapped himself and taken to Dimension X. And when he's taken to Dimension X, he gets possessed, like Will, by the Mind Flayer. And this is how his blood changes, and when he comes back, he's not the same kid. That's when he gets all of these dark ideas and thoughts and things in his mind and starts behaving the way he behaves, Vecna, in a Vecna-ish way. And where did this happen? Well, it happened in, I think it was Colorado or Nevada, I don't know, the caves, when we see Max inside Henry Creel's head, and she has built a sanctuary in the rocks. Those caves were the caves in the memories of Henry Creel, were the caves where he was taken for the first time. So Max makes her sanctuary there because Vecna cannot follow her in there. He gets frightened because it is the first time that he encountered Dimension X and the Mind Flayer, and he's just paralyzed with fear. That's why she gets to be safe from him inside of those caves. So the theory is that this guy wants to go back in time to either defeat the Mind Flayer or avoid going into those caves altogether, because in the end, if he doesn't get abducted into the Dimension X, then he does not become Vecna, and his blood has no powers. So the lab cannot infuse those powers in the mind control program into 11 and all the other children, and then the Upside Down is never created. You know, the entire chain of events gets prevented if Vecna could go back in time and avoid that encounter altogether. So The theory is that he's not a bad guy. He knows that whatever pain he causes will be reversed if only he can travel back in time to avoid that encounter. And that's what he's trying to do. But, to me, it's just an unhinged theory. I would hate it if this is the way that Stranger Things ended, honestly. I don't enjoy the idea of, oh, you thought it was a villain, but he was actually our guy. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. I don't want to be on the side of the dude that murdered 12 children or his family in such a horrid way. No way. No, thank you. I would much rather have a disappointing cliche ending. Like picture the most cliche ending you could. Imagine Vecna going like with his psychic powers, and there's like a stream of psychic powers going out of his hands, and then on the other side the combined powers of 11 and Callie and Will, and they all defeat Vecna. I would much rather have that disappointing ending than having Henry Creel be a good guy. But I guess we'll just have to see. I would really like, if you're following the show, I would really love to know what you think, and especially how do you like the 5th season? What made you feel excited? What was your favorite moments? Like, for example, the things that I loved about the 5th season so far is, I loved getting to see Max again. I hated to see what happened to her, and I love the fact that she is seemingly doing okay. Like, she can be saved still. I love the whole scene where she's almost going to make it. And I love how Will finally gets powers. That was so cathartic. And those were my favorite moments in the show. I feel like yeah, they're not especially unique, I guess. But it's true that those are my favorite moments. And so I was wondering what you thought of the show and what your experience was watching it. And if you liked my video, please do subscribe to my channel. I love to see the number of subscribers grow. And if you want to know when I post a new video and you don't want to rely on the algorithm letting you know, then make sure to add your email to my emails list by going here. You'll just have to enter your email and I'll add it manually. And then next time I post something interesting, I'll send you an email and you can come and watch, okay? So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.